Hey, and welcome to today's episode. I'm super excited to be unpacking the human design chart of one of my favorite humans, Frank Elaridi. Welcome to the poddy.
Hey, thank you. I was thinking right before I logged on that you've over the years given me little tidbits about my human design, and it always leaves me mind blown. So I just can't even imagine what you're going to tell me today.
Oh my God, I love that. It's so exciting. I am pumped because, we've sort of grown a friendship over the years, and you are just one of the most, I just adore you in every way because it's so beautiful watching your journey because so often I'm often feel like I'm out the front. Like, who do I look to? And often if I check in with you, I'm like, okay, we're on the same page. It's safe
It's
out
so
here.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love our
Love it.
long voice notes back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. So good. So today I am going to unpack your human design. If it's okay with you, I'm going to share your chart. Is that
That's
okay if I
fine.
share it? Yep.
That's okay. Yeah.
Cool. Um, and is there anything specific? Like, I know we've talked about certain topics, but is there something specific that maybe is going on in your life? Maybe something you're curious about? It doesn't have to be about your design because there's lots I've got that I want to talk about. But is there something specific in your life that perhaps you need information around, or it's something that you want to work towards, or even though you're Mr. Surrender, like I'm sure there isn't like a list of goals going on, but is there anything that comes to mind when I say that?
It's so funny that you say I'm Mr. Surrender because I really am. And yesterday, somebody was reading like a little bit about if you have in your Vedic chart, it's broken up into like thousands of mini charts beyond that main chart. And one of them is called your D9 Navamsha chart. And with the D9, with the Navamsha, what it does is that it's basically looking at your life after marriage. And so they were or in your later years of life, but usually it's considered after marriage. And they said if you have moon in I forgot what house I have it in the D9, but if you have it there, your whole thing in this life is surrender, surrender, surrender. You're constantly surrendering, and specifically, mostly surrendering to spiritual death, 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 and like making a ton of money, giving it away, making a lot of, but keep giving. It's like you keep the cycle moving. Like your friends, and it was so true. Everything it was saying was like your friends are always shocked that you just don't have desires. Like you're doing a lot, but you don't have, like, you're not attached to any of it. And finally, I was like, wow, somebody gets me. Like, that's me. But as far as my intention with you, I think, what's interesting about Vedic astrology is two people in the same month gave me a reading and said, one of them was like, oh, you're going to marry someone who's like, I mean, like massively entrepreneurial, like just huge, bigger than life, and spiritually like totally gonna wake you up as well. And then another one in the same week was like, you will never ever be in a relationship. You're meant to be celibate in this life. You will not be. So I was like, wait, two completely different interpretations. And one of them said, well, he said about the other one, he said, she's seeing the sun in your seventh house. The sun represents like king, royalty, like, in the planetary system, it is the king. And so when you're looking at like a birth chart of a country, for example, if you want to know about the president or the king or the head, you look at where the sun is in the chart. And that's in my seventh house of marriage. And so, but with other planets there. And he was like, she's reading it as your partner will be this magnificent figure. I'm seeing it as it's so strong in your chart, like it's a high percentage that it's burning the potential of any relationship. It's so big that it's not meant for that. But anyway, so I'd like
Mm.
to see if human design has anything to say about that.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
I'm
And I
indifferent
wonder,
either way. That's the funny
yeah,
thing. But I
yeah,
think it's a
right.
cool thing it'll be like the deciding factor.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so interesting. I just had a Vedic astrology reading. She's coming up on the podcast. And it blew my
Yeah.
mind. Like straight at the outset, she said, well, in Vedic astrology, your sun is actually an Aquarius, not a
Hmm.
Pisces. And I'm like, thank God,
Hmm.
because I've not
Hmm.
really resonated with being Piscean. Like, there's lots of things that I resonate. Like, I am the eternal daydreamer, and I'm totally, dreamed about romance since I was tiny, but it kind of ends there. Whereas I've always thought, God, I'd love to be an Aquarius. Like, that
Oh,
feels
wow.
like my energy. And so straight at the offset, I'm like, Okay, this is really fascinating. And the deeper she went,
Yeah.
it just blew my mind. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Vedic
it's
is a
so
whole
fascinating.
different thing. It's a
Yeah.
whole nother system. And it's because, well, Western astrology is nice for little like personality predictions and things like that. But as far as like life predictions, Vedic astrology, it goes on so many deeper levels. And they're taking into account the precession of the equinox, the precession of the stars as they're moving. Whereas in tropical system, it's just fixed. Like this is what it is. It was accurate 2000 years ago, but since then it's moved, and right now it's at about 23 point something, so it's almost a full sign. Only 6% of people are actually the same sign in both systems.
Yeah, wow. And
Yeah.
you know what? Like you've just given me something to respond to. We're going to look at your sidereal human design chart because right,
Oh.
right. Because like in my sidereal chart, so in my tropical chart, I'm a 3-5 emotional manifesting generator, right? So lots of big energy. But in my sidereal, I'm a 1-3 reflector. And I do have an obsession with reflectors.
Wow.
And
Can you
it's also
actually, it changes as well in human
Yaha,
design?
yaha. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to dive straight into that. Let's
Wow.
just dive. I'm going to get your
Okay.
chart
I
up and
love
we'll
this.
dive straight
Okay.
into that. Yeah.
Now I'm excited.
So good.
This is such a cool series that you have.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think, like people, I know for me personally, I've always really, I love to see things like human design, like in the real world, like how it's being expressed. And
Yeah.
just quickly before I change it, you talking about how, I called you Mr. Surrender, like that you're just kind of on this path. And I'm just going to hone in really quickly on your core wound and your core talent. So
Hmm.
this is through the frame of the gene keys. In human design, it's through Design Mars. And you actually have the gate 5 or the gene key 5. And it's the shadow of impatience. And impatience
Oh,
comes
yeah.
when you don't trust life. So you try and push it and force it and work it out. The 5 is very rhythmic. It's pattern oriented. It's routine oriented. It's like this really kind of logical process. But in the shadow, it's really impatient, right? But in the gift, it's patience. And the fundamental shift is from the mind needing to control the routine, the patterns, the process from impatience to patience. And the shift is, well, I trust life. So I'm just going to allow life to unfold because, the routines of life, the structure of life, the patterns of life, that's not up to me. That's something greater than me. So it's this gift of patience. And it means that, and you demonstrate it all the time. It's like, I know these things because I feel them on the inside. When, where, how, who, I don't know. Like I will just
Hmm.
be on the path. And it's the acidic state of timelessness. It's like then you even move out of, time and matter. It's like maybe it's happening in this life, maybe it's happening in another one. I just know this is happening now. And when is now? And I feel like it's you to a T.
So true.
Does it feel
Yeah.
like it
I
resonates?
mean, yeah, even like last night, I was like going to sleep and just feeling the merging of all the different timelines. And it was like so intense that I was just like, Frank, fall asleep, fall asleep, fall asleep. Because it was like I'd open my eyes and just see the net, like the net of the matrix that we're in. And then I closed my eyes and I was like, oh my God, the net's still there. And I like opened and it's still there. I was like, I can't escape it.
Yeah. And that's it, it's
Yeah.
that. And because, we've spoken about a lot, you're right on the cusp of, because you're
Yeah.
this incarnation cross of 4 ways and it shifts every 18 and a half years, you've just shifting into the gate 19, which is the gate of the sensitive. And it's interesting because in the shadow, it's codependence. So it's kind of like you're actually giving your power away to an authority outside of you. Like I need this person, this thing to
Oh,
feel
yeah.
safe. Whereas the gift is sensitivity. And this is where literally anything that is living, you have access to. You say you see the net, of course you do, because that's the gate 19. And I know for me personally, I have the gate 19, not in such a prominent place, but, like I can feel I have so many plants in my house. I can feel each and every one of them. How do I water my plants? It's like it asks me to. It's
Yeah.
not like words, but I just know. Um, and this for you is becoming like super, super prominent. So the ability to, communicate through frequency. And that could be telepathy, that could just be knowing, that could be, feeling, it could be anything. But that's really dialing up for you right now.
Yeah, I feel that. You blew my mind when you told me that on my podcast because I could feel it. Like it was that week that I started to feel this intensity of the telepathy and just being even more sensitive than I've always been, which was already almost debilitatingly sensitive. And then I became more sensitive, and you came onto the show and you were like, you're on this like cusp of going into the gate of the sensitive. And yeah, I mean, you cannot make this up. It's exactly in alignment with what's happening in my life.
Yeah, I love that. And for listeners, I realize I better just, at this point, looking at Frank's tropical chart, he's a 3-5 self-directed projector. So, there's a lot of sensitivity. There is one thing that really jumps out about your chart to me is, although you are a self-directed projector, so that implies you have a lot of undefined centers, and that means you take in a lot of other people's energy. Every single center, except for your will center, I'll come to that in a moment, and head center, you have a number of activations, meaning that you have what we call hanging gates. So you see there's like the numbers colored in, and there's, half a channel sticking out of it. And as soon as, like this morning when I just looked at it, what it says to me is like, yes, you're super sensitive. Yes, you are taking in so many people's energy. However, whenever you get in aura with someone else, you have at least 2 of your very own activations, meaning that, especially with the solar plexus and the sacral. So when you're with these really big energies, even the root center of other people, these other motors, although their energy can feel a lot to you, you actually have your own unique expression. So when you stay true to you, you're not going to be knocked off course. You're not going to be all of a sudden behaving like someone else or making decisions that aren't aligned for you. As long as you're staying true to you, you actually have a lot of your own expression once it gets activated. Does that resonate?
It does. And you know what? Like, Emma, I'm learning this week about myself. Like, this was my big epiphany yesterday, was that when you brought up codependence, that I need the people to be happy in order for me to be like, oh, okay, I can breathe. So even in like my online course, for example, it's so, even though there's like 60 people in there right now, I'm still like, oh, is everybody happy? Does everybody have what they need? Like, it's just a constant thing in my mind,
Yeah.
And so, but I'm realizing my power comes from also because I invited a few friends to the Monroe Institute where I went last year, and I'm going again this year. And whereas before I would have been like, oh, are they okay? Like, does everybody have the room they want and this and that? And now I'm just like, whatever, I don't care. Like, and that's been so freeing to just be like, whatever, it's a great opportunity. You get what you get, and it's going to be an amazing experience that you're here,
Yeah.
And so it's just an interesting thing, like how much more powerful it is, for me at least, to be able to just surrender that, like the need for everybody to be happy and content.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so interesting because that's your line 5 in your profile, but you also have a line 5 in your core talent. So what that says is that you're really now learning the lesson that you don't need to be everyone's superhero, that actually your job is to help and serve and, yes, solve problems and, importantly, lead, but their journey is their journey. Their room is their room. Like, if they get the shit room, that's part of their journey. That's not your responsibility. And this is a lesson that all line 5s have to learn because, they are projected onto so significantly as kids, like, oh, you can fix it, you can sort it out, you take the lead on this, so that we grow up into adults and we continue to do that. And it's so important that we don't. Just because we can solve other people's problems doesn't mean we should, because we have to give other people the opportunity, so i.e. the responsibility, to sort their own shit out. Otherwise, they're never going to evolve, the way they want to, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm learning that.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, let's do it. Let's have a look at your sidereal chart.
Okay. Well, I have a question about the sidereal. So will that change also the incarnation cross that I'm in, or that I am?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
What I think is really
interesting. So which one should I take into account?
Well, I think this is the $64 million question that people ask all the time. So this is the thing that I say for me. the thing that I say for me personally is that there's no way that I'm not an emotional manifesting generator. Like I am absolutely emotional, and I'm not affected by other people's emotions, right? So that's one thing that I can't disregard my natal, my tropical chart. I'm also definitely a manifesting generator because I cannot do anything in a linear manner. I like the thought of like sticking to one thing forever and only doing one thing. I'm like, I can't, like, I just can't, right? So
Hmm.
there's no way that I'm not that. However, even when I first found out about my sidereal chart and when I went into it, I'm like, of course I am, because I'm obsessed with reflectors, so I've really uncharacteristically for most people been fascinated to learn a lot about being a reflector. I also have an obsession with detail. So I'm a 1-3 profile in sidereal. And I've had people say to me, I don't know why you're so obsessed with the details. Like, you hardly have any line ones in your chart. Well, this could be a part of that. Then the other thing that really stood out to me is one of the incarnation crosses that I love, and I definitely have always felt a resonance with, is the cross of the Sphinx. Now, I'm a cross of the Sphinx in my sidereal. So the way I look at it is I can definitely feel that there's an echo of that. Like it's playing out in me in some way. Do I think it's my leading energy? No, I don't. But I tell you what, like when I crash like a non-sacral being. So I can definitely see that the two, play a pretty significant role.
I'm really curious to see like which one I resonate more with when I hear it.
Yeah. Okay. So in your sidereal, you are a 6-2 emotional generator. So that means, I mean, to me, being a 6-2, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense because it's the role model. It's this, following what comes easily for you, your natural talents, your, I don't know why I'm good at it. I'm just good at it. And then people calling it out of you, like saying, hey, Frank, can you share this? Can you show me that? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And even the way that you approach life is very line 6. It's very visionary. It's very, I have all the information, but I really want to work this out on my own. I want to work out what it means to me. I want to walk my path and decide, what's true for me. And over the years, it becomes wisdom, and the line 6, where you're at right now, it's what we call on the roof. So you're actually, up until the age of 30, it was trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. And
yeah, that very much resonates. Yeah.
Right. So, and you're a 3-5.
It was about 30 that I stopped all that phase. Yeah.
And that's, I just got goosebumps. That's really fascinating because in your tropical, you are a 3-5. So the 3 doesn't end. There isn't a clear, like, oh, the trial and error is over. It's kind of like you learn more and the trial and error gets cleaner and quicker, but it doesn't disappear. So the fact that you already resonate with, hang on a second, there was a difference before 30 and after 30.
Huge.
And then,
actually.
Yeah. And the fact that you already feel it, like I think, that's really interesting. Then at the moment, that means you're on the roof. So between 30 and 50, these are the wisdom years. So these are the years where it's almost like you pull yourself back from the world a little bit and you're kind of like, right, I kind of need to just work out what that shit show was before 30. I've got to learn my lessons.
God, this resonates.
Right?
Emma, I think this is more resonant. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. So, and then it's like the teenage years. You go, okay, I've learned all these things. I'm going to decide these models of living, if you like, and then I'm going to test them out and refine them. So that's what's happening right now. And you want to be a little bit more reclusive. And being a line 2 as well, it will be like double reclusive. Like you've probably always loved your own time, your own space, but it's kind of like a double whammy for that 20-year period. So is that resonating so far?
Yeah, so much. Like around age 31, 32, 32, I moved to like the Hollywood Hills, completely secluded. You've been here. It's like a gated community. There's like private everything here, like the tennis courts, the saunas, the pools, because I wanted at the gym, like everything is here.
Yeah.
And I've been really secluded for 3 years. And now I'm secluding even more because I'm moving in a few months now. I'm moving to the desert. I'm getting a house like in the desert, so far away from anything.
Wow.
And I am
Wow.
really contemplating. The reason I've been so isolated is for exactly what you said. I've been contemplating everything that happened in those 30 years before. I mean, it's all being regurgitated and transcended.
I love that. And you know what's interesting, just to throw into the mix, your environment in your sidereal is caves. So it actually means that
Hmm.
you're a cave person, meaning that
Oh my God, this so
you
resonates.
literally want to control who comes in and who doesn't come in from your home, from your office, from any space. Like, I get to decide. And what's really important for you, you want to make sure things like your office, your bedroom, you must have like a solid wall behind you, and you must be able to see the door. So in Feng Shui, we call that
Yeah,
command position. You always
feng
want to be
shui.
in command position. So
Yeah,
because the caves person, and people must knock on your door. People ask permission to come in. They don't just let themselves in. There's no open door policy. It's very much about, I will decide who I feel safe with in my environment. Um, and yeah, so it's a really, and it's super important because caves people, it's like creating the safety of your environment, and your life will then give you the power to feel safe in the rest of your life. Does that resonate?
yeah. Yeah, it's like of utmost importance to me. And like, to have a complete sanctuary here. And I love entertaining and having people over, but yeah, it's very curated and contained.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was just in Lebanon and I went to three different sacred caves that I always go to when I'm there. So one is where the saint, he's a Catholic saint named Saint Charbel, and he's known for like the most miracles documented by the Vatican. And he was a Lebanese saint or a monk. And so I went to his monastery and we saw like the cave where he would meditate. But also went to so we call him Ayub in Lebanon, Ayub, but Job, Job of the Bible. So like my lineage, the Jewish people, we have the cave. Like it's on our, I guess, anyone can go, right? But it's like the Druze people that take care of it, and it's their place. But it's the place where Ayub or Job was enlightened, basically in this cave. And I went in there and lit a candle and sat by myself, and I took video, and you could see flickering lights. So there was a part in the cave where I was like, it kind of looked like a stool, like where somebody would sit, and I was like, I bet he would sit right there and meditate. And I was like videoing it, and there's flickering green lights in that spot.
Wow.
It's really cool. But it's funny that you say caves because it was a really cold time because I went in the winter in Lebanon. So there was snow in the mountains. And my parents were like, "Are you sure you want to go?" And I was like, "Yes, I have to go."
I love that. And you know, it's even like you've just given a classic generator response. Your parents saying, "Are you sure you want to go?" Yes, I want
Mm,
to go. Don't know why,
mm-hmm.
don't need to know why. Yep, I've got energy for it. I got to follow it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so fascinating. And I think the next part, and it's also actually, I have to jump to the core talent. And the core talent, because you've actually used the CITIC word today. And it's the same core talent that I have. So it's gate 43, and it's actually the CITIC state of epiphany. So the
Mm,
43 is all about insight. So in its shadow, it's deafness. It's like I'll be deaf to things. And like for me personally, I think about my childhood. I would put people on pedestals and I would be deaf to the truth of who they are. I literally,
oh
if I
yeah.
didn't want to hear something as a kid, I'd be like, I'd stick my fingers in my ears and go la 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 la. Like I would not take part, right? Um,
Hmm.
but this is actually, it's the gift of insight. So it's this knowing, it's this intuitive, like, I don't know where this came from, but this insight just came in. It's breakthrough. So like my core talent, and it's interesting again, because you've said like every time I share your design, you're like, I have this, you didn't use the word breakthrough, but that's what you're saying, a breakthrough moment, because that's my core talent.
Yeah.
So in this chart, this is your core talent too. So it's like you get an insight. It could be about self or other. And that leads you or the other to a breakthrough. Does that feel like it resonates with you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is like all I do in my work too, right? Is
Yeah.
like give people breakthroughs. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you're a coach who uses human design in your business, we need to talk. Why are you still sending people to someone else's website to get their human design chart when you can have the chart generator right on your own site? We've been using the Bodygraph chart software since 2021, and it has brought in over 50,000 new leads and multiple six figures in revenue from one simple form. Clients get their chart instantly. We capture the email, we automate the journey. They can even purchase a personalised reading report without us even lifting a finger. It's affordable, easy to install, integrates with everything, and the support team is incredible. If you want to grow your audience, automate your front-end funnel, and turn your human design knowledge into real revenue, you need this tool. Head to the link in the show notes to start using Bodygraph and use the code Human Design Podcast for 30% off for 6 months when you sign up. And then the incarnation cross. So you've got the cross of endeavor. And for me personally, like knowing you, you've got the 54 and the 53, ambition and new beginnings. These are really powerful gates for, let's call it like old school success, because the 54 drives ambition, and it's, you know, it's a money gate. It's like when you have that fuel to go after your ambition and you add meaning to that. So in the shadow, it's kind of like, I think it's greed. So if it's something I want, that's the shadow. But the moment you go into pure ambition aligned to meaning, you know, for the greater good, then it's a really unstoppable force for creating. You know, I see a lot of very successful entrepreneurs have the 54 in a prominent place. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, and I think because when I make it about me, I suffer, but when I make it about serving and doing for others, I see a lot more success in that.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And that really is the meaning piece. And then the 53,
Hmm.
and you've got the whole channel, the 5342, but the 53 is all about new beginnings. So this is a person who, especially because you have it in your design earth, that means it's your purpose. So it's through the frame of the gene keys. So that means internal fulfillment. So the 53 always, like, they will unresourcefully as well as resourcefully always be looking for the new horizon, the new thing. What's the new beginning? And because you
Hmm.
have the whole chart, the 5342, the whole channel, what that means is you also have the 42 gift that is about, okay, what needs to end? Which cycle needs to end? Let's get rid of the one that needs to end, and then let's keep moving. Let's go around for the next iteration of the cycle that wants to stay. And the 53, the metaphor that Richard Rudd uses in the Gene Keys that I love is the bent arrow. So with the 53, every new beginning is an arrow. Now, if that arrow is fired from love, so it comes from a place of alignment, heart, love, then you fire a straight arrow. It will hit your mark. But if you fire it from fear, then that arrow is bent. So it doesn't matter how much work, how much skill, how much luck you have, it will never reach its destination. So this being in your fulfillment, like, it would have been a big lesson for you to be very mindful of, you know, what you actually start. Is this true to me? Is this aligned to me, to love? Or am I doing it out of fear? Does that resonate?
Yeah, you know what's funny about this is that I'm tying it back to the ages like 1 to 30, because I think in that time period, the trial and error, the learning was because I was operating very ambitiously but out of fear.
Yeah.
And then around 30, 31, everything I started to do was like heart-centered. So it was all about like Modern Nirvana conference, the Modern Nirvana Oracle deck, my podcast, doing energy work, leaving ABC News, like all of that was more about, okay, going into service. And when I did that, I mean, exponentially happier, more success, everything came from making that transition
Yeah.
and learning all those things from the first 30 years of like operating out of fear.
Yeah. And I think that that's, you see, the other sort of significant shift is this shift from, in your tropical chart, you're a personal profile. So it is about you and your journey. In this chart, you're a transpersonal profile. So what that means is that your focus shifts. So when I build a business, even though I intrinsically want to have a big impact to serve people, if I get too much about the other, then I lose my direction. But what is really interesting about what you're sharing is it sounds more transpersonal, because the transpersonal is more extrinsically motivated. They see what people need. They meet someone and their heartstrings get tugged, and that initiates something. Or so the transpersonal is often more about the other, and you've got to be very careful not to be too much about the other, because the opposite is true. Like if it's too much about the other and you forget self, then that's when you sort of get off your own personal journey. Does that resonate?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually very curious too to hear about what the incarnation cross would be.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Well, I'm working through the gates of the incarnation cross right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are the most significant things. And the cross of endeavor I will get to. I'll get my little book out as well. So I'll read something to you. But so your personality sun, so this is, I suppose like in astrology, it's a sprinkle of this on everything. Okay, so everything shines out through this. And this is the gate 21. And in human design, this is one of the money gates. It's, often referred to as the accountant. This is the person that's good with money, that can receive money, can manage money, can invest money. They're really good with the resources for the tribe, okay? And it's a gate that sits in the heart center. So this is heart, ego, will. So it's very much about, providing for the tribe. Leadership sits in here as well. And of course, you have the line 6, which is the role model. So it's the visionary leader. But it's the shadow of control. So in its shadow, it's like it wants to micromanage. It wants to control everything, because it's like, I can't let this get, out of control, because I won't be able to dial it back in again. Does that resonate with you?
It's so crazy. It's so true. Everything you're describing goes back to the early 30s to now, because in my early 30s, not only operating out of fear, but also control. And in the companies that I had, even though I had co-founders, they'd always be like, okay, Frank, what are we doing? What do we do?
Yeah.
It was always back to me. So I did become that role model, but also the shadow of that is I became very controlling over it. Like I had to manage every aspect of everything. And then now it's so different to see the companies that I have now, which are way more successful, but also, or maybe equally successful. But the difference is I just let the team do whatever. Like they're telling me all day, every day. They tell me what to do. Like they're telling me like, Frank, do this, do that. I'm like, okay. And like, they still very much role model me, where they're like, you can tell from the way they speak, they have reverence, they have respect for what I say is usually the final word, but they're telling me what to do and I'm trusting them completely.
Yeah. So that's the gift of authority. That's when we flip into this, I don't need to lead and control. I am the authority, that I can actually allow those around me to step into their authority. And yes, these things will ultimately come back on, to me, because I am the leader, but it's actually this new way of being that, okay, I'm the authority. I'm not in control. I empower the others around me to be the masters at their thing, per se.
That's it.
Resonate?
Yeah. And
so
that's
cool.
the shift that I made and saw. Yeah.
So, and then the 48 is your personality earth, your evolution in the gene keys, and it's the gate 48. And the gate 48 is the gate of depth. I love this one. I don't have it, but the animal that this always reminds me of is the Black Panther. It is in the I Ching, it's the well. It is the depths, like when And the fear is I'm afraid to look at my deepest, darkest shadows. And it's the highest feminine fear that I am not enough. But what we learn, and this is because, I've literally got the panther tattooed on me because she's walked with me for decades. It's this energy of, hang on a second, I bring the light to the depths. There's nothing to be afraid of here. So walk with me in the darkest parts of self or other, because within here we are going to find what is missing, what's been lost, what the answers are. So it's really like having that courage to be in the dark and bring the light to the dark. Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm really not afraid to walk through the dark,
Yeah.
And it's like, and even all my like Vedic charts or astrology readings have always told me that too. Like, you are very comfortable in like the dark, or you could walk through a cemetery in the middle of the night and you'll just feel totally like nothing will touch you, is what they've said. And you know that. And I resonate with the Black Panther a lot too, like you. And I don't work with medicine anymore, plant medicine, but when I did, in one of the journeys, I remember I was in Costa Rica in the jungle, and I was being so loud and expressive that they took my mattress outside into the jungle, outside of the area where everybody was. And I was by myself, and the shaman was my friend, and he's the one who put me out. And then I transformed in my awareness and my consciousness into a Black Panther, and I was on the mattress outside, literally going, and I was like going like this and just like this, and I was like almost becoming so territorial of my mattress, and I was like just like a cat, like arching my back and just like growling and snarling.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
And what's really interesting, because of where it sits, like this is what grounds who you are. Like the depth is what grounds you into, your identity, who you are in this lifetime, your personality. Like this really grounds you in. So it makes so much sense that you can walk in the dark per se and be super comfortable with it. I'm going to actually just go to my friend Brynja's book and look up Endeavor, because I know Endeavor is one of the really super productive incarnation crosses. But what's really interesting, and I will get back to, is you've got a lot of the really spiritual stuff in your chart. Okay. So the cross of Endeavor, we see the control of the 21, the beginnings of the 53, the resources of the 48, and the ambition of the 54. Ambition, resource, beginnings, and control, a perfect combination for effective enterprising. Those with the cross of Endeavor contain the impulse to take back control by creating work they initiate and are in charge of. Endeavor is more than just taking on something new. It is a responsibility to carve a new path. This cross holds the spirit of entrepreneurship. It is an action-oriented cross. Those on this cross can pull from deep within them to find whatever resources are needed to drive their ventures. If someone with the cross of Endeavor crosses your path, be aware that the themes of entrepreneurship, work, resourcefulness, or anti-establishment may arise.
Yeah, so accurate.
Yeah. And I think like this goes back to the question, which chart should I look at? I feel like this is how we can kind of call on both and we can learn from both, because your sidereal, you've got all four motors defined in your sidereal. So you go from being this self-directed projector that has two defined centers to having all four motors, meaning that you're a single definition, meaning that you have all of this action-oriented energy. You have the emotion, you have the drive, the will, you have the passion, you have the productivity, the fuel. So you're very like in your sidereal, you have a lot of energy. And one of the things interesting, because again, me being a 3-5, I instantly kind of try it on. And I think that there's this balance between you, because there's going to be times where you're going to feel like, you know what, I've got all this energy. I'm just going to follow what lights me up. Like, yep, this is great, this is great, this is great. But then there's going to be these other times that you literally have a 15-minute conversation with someone in person and go like, shit, I need a week off. So potentially there might be, and does it resonate with you, that you can swing between feeling like you have endless energy to being, the opposite of that and perhaps really affected by other people's energy? Like, do both exist for you?
Both exist. Yeah, both exist. So that's why I was trying. And it's funny you said that, because as you were reading about Endeavor, I was thinking the same thing of like trying to, I guess, not justify, but like come to terms with both charts, because I'm definitely overall resonating more with the sidereal. But what's interesting too, like for example, when I first got into Vedic astrology, I told the astrologer, yeah, but I think I am a Taurus because I'm very stubborn. And he was like, no, you're stubborn because you have Mars in your fourth house, and because you have this, you have to look at the whole chart, but you're still in Aries. And so that's how I'm seeing this too, where I resonated with the three before and with being a projector, because I really need a lot of rest and downtime and wait for the invitation. But at the same time, I do resonate with the fact that sometimes like I'll get so much energy, like a burst of energy, that I'm like up for hours just working, doing things. And I'm like, I need more to do. And then other times, like maybe 60% of the time, I don't have the energy to do anything, and I'm just like clocked out.
Yeah. And what's interesting as well is you're an emotional authority in sidereal. And so I'm emotional authority. And one of the things I think people don't talk enough about emotional authority is it's fucking exhausting to be an emotional authority, because, non-emotionals, so technically in your tropical, you're non-emotional. Non-emotionals, they're not constantly in an emotional wave. So they're not actually processing emotion at every moment of every day. So when they have an emotion, that might be tiring, sure. When they're feeling other people's emotions, sure, that's going to be tiring. But being an emotional being, like being in the wave 24/7, is exhausting. So I've definitely found personally and with my community that emotionals often do have a lot of big crashes. They need the time out. And it's not that anything's wrong with them. It's just that when you are constantly processing energy, like emotional energy, it gets freaking exhausting. So when you're in your low, you can be literally like, everyone leave me alone. How do you feel
See,
about
that
the whole idea
resonates
about,
more.
yeah, go ahead.
That resonates more to me than being a three, where, or is it the three or the projector that would make me just tired all the time?
Projector.
Projector. Okay. So no, this resonates more because I don't feel like I'm exhausted just out of being exhausted. It's usually because I've seen two clients that day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I can't do more than like three is my max in a day, because it just drains me out. Or like I'll have people over for dinner and I love that, but then the second they leave, I'm like, oh, or
Yeah.
after I film a podcast or after like something, because I take on everything. So it's not just me sitting there chatting that's made me tired. It's the fact that I'm aware of every little emotion in the room, every ping of energy or frequency. And so by the end, I'm just like, I collapse. Even if I have like, my idea will be like, okay, after my three clients today, I'm going to the gym and then I'm going to cook some dinner and I'll be done. And I'm like, I'm done. I can't do anything. And sometimes like yesterday, I laid on the ground and I had a Zoom call with my team and I just had the camera off and I was laying on the living room floor, because after those three clients, I couldn't even function.
Yeah. And it's really fascinating because just listening to you, I can feel my whole body responding. Like, I'm an emotional manifesting generator. So everyone's going to say, oh, you're the Energizer Bunny. But I think about this week, like I've had a really, really busy week. For me, I mean, it's not as busy as, people living in the old world. Let me be clear.
Right. Exactly. You're still going to the beach and still seeing your horse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like I'm exhausted. And it is. It's actually because when you burn emotional energy, your wave only has one place to go, and that's down. Like it's like I'm at my peak. I'm sitting with my friends at dinner. I'm, having this big emotional experience. It's like you can't keep taking when there's nothing left. So it's like that then initiates the wave to go back down again. So I definitely resonate with that. It was interesting. I was sitting in tea this morning and all of a sudden I was back in my body. I was grounded. I felt myself, I call it back in the magic. Like, okay, I'm here. I'm present. Everything feels easy again. And yeah, that like if I actually look at it from a logical standpoint, like what did I do? And honestly, I think part of it is just because my wave had done its low and it's starting to ebb back up again, you know? So
Right. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
for emotionals, because it's very mechanical, like it's not what we're doing, what we're saying, what's happening in our external reality. We are on a mechanical wave that is literally moving like the ocean all the time. We can't control it. We can influence it. Like if we do too much and we get tired, that's going to send it downward. We can potentially influence it by, other things that we put into our body. But inevitably, the peak or the low must turn. So I think that like, do you identify with being an emotional person? And what I mean by that, let me just clarify, is emotional beings, I'm not influenced by other people's emotions. I have my emotions and then other people have theirs. So emotional beings are very, very good at holding space for other people's emotions because they don't take them on. They don't feel them. They don't get overwhelmed by someone else's emotions. Like I can have the most emotional person telling the most challenging story and I'm going to be like, I've got you, babe. Like, this is cool. I've got you. Whereas like if something happens, recently I was recording one of my secret podcasts and I was really emotional, but it wasn't anyone else's stuff. It was my response to something that had happened. So hearing all of that, is there anything that pops up for you that resonates that you want to respond to?
Yeah, I think I get really emotional, but not over my stuff. Like it's actually, I'm very detached from anything that has to do with me. It's so easy for me. Like I could have the biggest rejection in my life, and it's almost like you just told me nothing. Like I'm like, oh, okay. Like I don't get react. If it's about me, no. But I could see something like a little, I don't know, pig falling off a truck from like a meat farm,
Stop it.
and it has injuries, and I'll literally think about it all day, and I'll start being like, what can I do? What can I do? How can I help these animals? Like, is there a way I could buy a farm and like release them all? Like, I'll just start literally like my mind will be stuck on it all day. But I also feel like that's more my shadow side because, and it's an interesting point to make too, because with astrology or human design or anything, I can see how there's like the blueprint that you came in with, but I also see how like for some people, like a sage or like an awakened, realized person, some things stop applying fully only because you've completely like that applies to the person, but you're no longer the person like and so the reason I say that is because like the emotions part, I think
Yeah.
by nature I was very, very emotional, and then now through like a practice, that part of me is pretty much dissolved, but I
Yeah.
do still have like deep compassion. That part's not gone yet.
Yeah.
Like deep compassion for others, that's still very much there.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, because I had this conversation when I interviewed Bruce Lipton and we were talking about human design and astrology. And he said, the thing is that astrology is absolutely bang on, and it has been for millennia. However, the thing that people don't understand is the higher our consciousness goes, the less it matters. Because
Exactly.
as our consciousness rises, then these imprinted patterns start to just disintegrate effectively. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You definitely, and that's kind of like almost like these Siddhic states. So because the Siddhic state and the gene keys, it's not something you can do. It's not something you achieve. It's something that just like happens when
That's
you're
so
walking down the
true.
street and you're like, oh, wow, epiphany. Because, for me,
Yeah.
I've got the core talent 43 and I've always had epiphanies, and I can't make them happen. It just all of a sudden, everything comes together and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
So
What is
it's
that?
more
Oh, the
of
43.
the
Yeah.
43. So I think that's
And we
going to
both
be
have
like,
that, right?
exactly, that's your core talent too.
Yeah.
It's your core
Core
wound and your
talent
core
too.
talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And then the other thing that really sort of shows up or that stands out for me is like you have the 3457. So this is about empowered intuition. The gate 34 is the multitasking. So often when people talk about manifesting generators, you're a generator, but when they talk about manifesting generators, they talk about this multi-passionate energy. It's often because they have the 3420. So you don't have the 20, but you've got the 34. So there is this multi-passionate, very powerful, self-empowered motor energy in you, but it's connected to your intuition. So it's like you have this, and it have always had, but perhaps weren't aware of it, because you'll see how this is red. That means that the 34 sits on the design side of your chart. So it's that, we say maybe the unconscious, it's innate. You're not aware, like the ego is not involved with it. But by now you're like, wow, I do really have this incredibly powerful intuition. It's like my intuition is plugged in to, this self-empowerment. And the more I stand in my own individual self-empowerment, the more it inspires others to do the same. Does that feel like it resonates?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one.
That's what my online course is even, right? Like I have an online course, Awaken the Healer Within, and that's literally what it is like showing people what I did in my life and like how they can do it too. So if, how I went from being a TV journalist to a healer, and now other people who want to become healers or to build their practice. And that's literally what it is. It's like the role model, but also showing you that you can do exactly what I did.
Yeah. And you actually have the channel of awakening. You have the 5125.
What does that mean?
So this channel, the will center here, it's also called the heart or the ego center. This is this center that's very much about the material world. It's like providing for the tribe in the material world. It's about providing for self in the material world. It's like, what does my heart desire? So when we have a defined will center, there is a sense of I. But the sense of I, whatever serves the I, serves the all when it's in alignment. Now, with the 5125, the 51 is the gate of shock. The 25 is the love of the spirit. And this is actually the journey from ego to spirit. It's like you get the shock, the awakening, and then you are asked the question, this is an opportunity. Are you going to awaken? Are you going to move to the G center, the higher self, or are you going to stay in ego? So that channel really actually encourages people that when the shock happens, to understand it's a moment of awakening. It's not punishment. And that if you open and say yes to it, then the 25, the love of the spirit, will really like invite you into the higher self.
Okay. So is there any like suggestion for that? Is it just surrender?
Yeah, because ultimately this is an energy that's consistent and reliable within you always, So it's this, that's what you do. And it might even show up in your life, like people who have this channel, and probably earlier in your life, like maybe you did something, maybe you had an experience yourself that was shocking. You say something and people are shocked by what you say. It can be quite an uncomfortable energy, especially when you're in resistance to it, when you're like, why do these things keep happening? Whereas what's happened for you over time, and I mean, you've shared it in your story, is that and now it's not a shock to you. It's just a moment of awakening. Like, oh, I feel uncomfortable. I want to step closer to spirit. And it's there, it's active, it's you all the time. The shadow is going to try and keep you trapped in the ego, in the fear. But if you keep surrendering and moving towards spirit, like that's what it's there for you and to help lead others. It also falls into a part of the circuitry. So circuitry is what we call all the channels, the groups of the channels. And it's it's individual circuitry, but it's called the centering circuit. So anything that runs all the way through here. So you've got the 34 as well, but not the 10. The centering circuit is a very, very powerful, like when you walk into a room, people are going to fall in line. So if you're awakened, if you're on the resourceful, gift, Siddhic kind of end of this channel, people are going to fall in line with that. If you're not, they're going to fall in line with that too. Does that resonate?
That resonates a lot. Yeah. I can't even explain, but I know exactly what you're describing. Yeah.
So between the two charts, there's so much difference. Are you still feeling like you resonate more with this one than that one?
I'm resonating more with this one. The only part that I resonate more with the other one, but maybe it's something where you have to look at the chart as a whole, as a projector, because being, well, two things. But anyway, really one thing, which is the teacher, being the teacher and the leader. But maybe that's not because I'm a projector. right? Because
Well,
of
the line
other
six.
things.
Yeah.
The
So
line
the line
six.
six is
Yeah.
the teacher, like, and it's
Oh, yeah.
so if you think about the projector is the wise guide. So what a projector does is they say, and what's really interesting, just quickly, you don't have a lot of projected circuitry. You have some, but not a lot. So we always carry the other types in us because all the circuitry carries a type energy. But you have so much generated energy in here. This is projected. This is projected. This is projected. This is manifested. So there's actually not a lot of projector energy in here.
So interesting, right?
And so the projector itself is the wise guide. So the wise guide says, hey, I can see that you're using your energy in an inefficient way. And I have a system that can improve on that. And then they need the very clear invitation to improve that system. Whereas the line six, because it sits at the top of the trigram, number one, it actually puts its toe in the water with all of the other 5 line numbers, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5. And what it does is it has an experience of its own. And it kind of says, okay, well, the 1, the 2, and the 3 have taught me to learn through knowledge, natural talent, and experience. Then the 4 has gone and spread everything that works with the communities and the networks. The number 5, the line 5 has gone, right, we're going to empower all of these things. We're going to problem solve. We're going to lead. And then the line 6 takes all this information and goes, this is brilliant. What does it mean to me? Now I'm going to vision a new world. And that initiates the journey again. So the line 1 comes in and starts to build a strong foundation. So the teacher, the line 6, is very much about that wise visionary teacher, the one that kind of says, look, these are the things I've learned. This is what's happened over my life. This is da-da-da-da-da. But it's a very like unattached teacher because they often are sharing their own experiences, their own life, their wisdom that they've curated over years. It's not like when the line 5 teaches, it's like, these are the structures, these are the strategies, these are the solutions. It's a very practical energy, but the line 6 is more of that, this is what I've come to know, and they impart that wisdom.
This resonates so much more, Emma.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is so much more. Yeah. Because even before, it's so interesting because even before it was powerful, but now it's even deeper. Like now I feel like this is me. And what's interesting about this is that every time I talk to you, there's some kind of epiphany because, like we said earlier, a breakthrough. Because so what I resonated a lot with projector is waiting for the invitation, because everything started to happen in my life when I started to just wait for the invitation. And that's why even my book that I'm writing now is my 3rd book, and it's called Do Nothing. And it's all about the art of surrender and what happens in life when we just surrender and do nothing. But there's obviously a lot more, but that's the gist of it. And now I'm realizing that comes more from, it actually makes me happy because now it's like, even if you're a generator, you can still surrender and do nothing, even though the generator is supposed to just do, and still things will come and will happen. So this book is for everybody, not just us, projectors, but everybody. Any sign that you are, the do nothing practice will still help.
100%. And the thing about being a generator from that perspective, or a manifesting generator, it's like, the difference is, instead of getting formal invitations, it's like you get the clarity. So the body goes, yes, I've got energy for this. And because you're emotional, decisions are made over time and you're waiting for neutrality. So when you make a decision, when it's first initiated, it probably, depending on where you are in your wave, you're going to have a different response. It's like a veil. But then all of a sudden you find neutrality. Like, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm not like excited. I'm not like, I have to. I'm just like, I'm just, I have the energy for this. I'm going to go and do it. So, maybe there's even part of that, like just learning to trust, to wait for the neutrality, to wait even to something to respond to, because ultimately generators are here to respond to something.
Yeah.
So when someone says something to you about, have you thought of blah, blah, because you're aligned to, it's going to get projected onto you. Then the body engages. Like, yep, I've got energy for that. Is this the right time? Because the solar plexus is all about timing. So emotional authority, she's going to say neutrality will arrive when the timing is correct. So it could even be that,
Yeah, this resonates. Yeah.
Amazing. I just looked at the time. I've got to let you go. Oh my God. This was fantastic.
Yeah, you're right. I'm good with whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to run away. I've got to teach another class.
Okay, cool.
But have you got
Thank you so much
any
for
last
this.
questions on this? Anything else that you feel needs answering?
No, this has been pretty remarkable to see like the difference between the two. And I think honestly, for me, I'm like team sidereal now.
I love it. That's so good. And now you've just totally initiated me. Like, you've given me something to respond to, because I've been thinking about my sidereal chart recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, I reckon I'm going to teach a whole new class.
I can recommend somebody for you. Oh, you already did it. You did a whole Vedic. Yeah, you did it.
Yeah, I met this woman who got recommended to me, and she's just mind blowing. Like, the things she picked, it was just amazing. So,
very cool.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing your chart and then just say a massive thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Hey, you just told me that you've got a new book coming out soon. Do you want to let everyone know what that is before we go?
Yeah. Okay. So it's actually a beautiful lesson in do nothing, like we talked about, because I wrote this fiction book, a young adult fiction book called The Witches of Calabasas. And Calabasas is an area here in Southern California. And I wrote it like 5 or 6 years ago and completely just put it on a shelf, forgot about it. I was like, everybody wants me to write spiritual books. Nobody wants a young adult book from me. So I'm not doing anything with it. And out of nowhere, 6 years later, I get a call from a massive publisher. And they asked me if I wanted to publish this book that I wrote 6 years ago. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So that comes out this month in February for pre-sale. And then it officially comes out in October of this year. But it's a really cool book about this kid who goes on this fantastical journey and meets these people who end up being witches, and goes on a summer-long journey finding himself really and discovering what true freedom and true magic is. Not like the magic of illusions and witchery, but like the magic of being yourself.
Oof, that sounds so good. And before I hit record, we were talking about how we can't read another non-fiction book, and I'm pumped. I'm so looking forward to reading this. It's going to be great.
I can't wait to hear what you think. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And we will put links for Frank's community podcast, all the ways that you can access his work as well, because I'm sure you're fascinated after listening to this. Thanks so much for being with me, Frank.
Thank you, Emma. Thanks again.
And thanks everyone for listening. I trust you got what you needed from today's episode, and I so look forward to having you on the next one. Bye for now.